dropping the screen periodically to mute and unmute the audience. However, this chat box down here is where we will be doing the main portion of our monitoring for questions during the presentation. What I'm going to do now is mute the audience.
You are now muted.
You'll be able to hear us here on this end. You will also notice up in the upper corner of your screen, way in the left upper right, a little box that says Ask a Question. We will not be monitoring that particular question box during the webinar, so we do ask that you type in any of your questions down here in this other chat box. With that, I will be turning the presentation over to Steve Thorndale.
Okay, thank you very much, Ann, and welcome everybody to this Unit Record Report webinar. We're excited here about working with you to get this important program going, and I think most of you are veterans who have done this before, but we may have a few new folks. But this is a very, very important report that the state has been doing for probably 40, 44 years at this time, that really collects a rich amount of information from all the institutions on all of your needy students and all of your students, at least who have federal loan programs as well. So this provides a central repository for us and for other state data agencies who may be looking at ways to try to assess the needs of students. And for example, our director, Rochelle Sharp, will use this data a lot for working with committees and informing legislators and really trying to help shape the changes in student aid programs, document needs, document unmet needs, things of that nature. And by having this one significant database, we're able to minimize the amount of ad hoc reports that institutions might have from either us or from other agencies like that. So we hope that it's a lot of work that you'll understand and your institutions will appreciate how this all works out. So our manual and timeline are covered next. The manual is available electronically. There's the location there, and we do suggest that you go to that again. You might have got the manual originally that was dated June of 2014. We have provided some slight updates, and so there's a new version of that that's dated August, and it's color-coded to show you what pages that any changes would occur on. We'll be covering those changes here today as well. August 15th was the date that the Unit Record Report was first available. Since you're all on the phone, probably none of you have started yours yet, and that's understandable, but we want to let you know that we have had 2 colleges already complete the entire process. In fact, they were so anxious to do it, they started on the 15th of August and remarkably completed it, submitted it on August 15th as well. So they've been able to check that off the list right now, although we still have review that we'll be doing. Most colleges, though, won't be quite that speedy, and you have until October 10th to complete the Unit Record Report. We certainly advise you begin working on this in September, if not before, so that you can get through a series of edits and fix them all up if need be before you finally submit the report. There's also a training portal that we'll show you later, I believe, for the location where if you wanted to work on this offline, you could go into that website. So once all the reports are in on October 10th, staff will do lots of analysis on this and continue to work with a few schools for cleanup information if necessary. And we hope that by December then that everything's in good shape, that we can begin to give information to policymakers, Rochelle Sharp, our executive director of the agency, and so forth. And in January, we should have institutional profile reports available online. We'll send out an email at that time to remind folks. This past year, they were a little later, but that was our developmental year, so it was probably March before the profile reports were out this past year, but we'll get them out by January of this year. So from an overview, the manual, I think, will cover just about any question you might have later on, but there'll be general instructions, all of the data definitions. There's a reporting application users guide and appendices. We'll be covering all of these to some extent in today's session. Next slide. So, and the appendices just simply list those. If you, the first is a color-coded one on what are considered the need-based programs and non-need-based programs. All those that you should be filing on. Record layout, the exact file format, valid inputs are in Appendix B, and Appendix C talks about edits. G and E are lookups that you can either look up if you're not sure where this goes. If you have a particular program, you want to see what the file location would be. It will show you there. So all of this depends upon your institution's building and providing to us a CSV file. And this file, there is a sample layout on our website. Website will be shown at the end. And you need to report only those students who receive financial aid based upon a 2013-14 FAFSA. Also non-need-based loan programs. So you're going to report the files in this format with a header row. If you went through the portal process last year, as most of you did, your institution has already created a CSV format file last year. You can use that same file if you want, or if you want to download the current version, either one will work. It doesn't matter what order the fields are in because they're not numbered, but it does matter that the exact heading is used as is shown on the format file. You're going to review the field definitions in Chapter 2 of the manual to determine the valid field content and so forth. So in determining which students to report, I mentioned all those that are need-based recipients. So certainly if a FAFSA was required, such as a Pell Grant or State Need Grant, College Bound, so forth, you're going to be reporting all those students who received assistance. And there's a series of other, what we call need-based aid recipients for other programs where FAFSA data may or may not be available. In most cases it usually is, but an example of one that may not be for some students could be the Opportunity Scholarship Program managed by the College Success Foundation. That program, I know the first year you have to have a FAFSA for sure, but year 2 it's possible that a student might not demonstrate need for that program. And all the non-need-based federal loan recipients, unsubsidized loans, parent loans, Graduate Plus loans are all to be included as well. For our need-based recipients, the intent is to capture everything they have, all the various disbursements that they have in a single unit record report. And you're reporting this, and this will kind of blend into discussion of summer programs in a minute, but everything that was based upon a 13-14 FAFSA would be reported. So your summer program used the 13-14 FAFSA, which could have been if you were a header or a trailer, I think. You would report either the header or the trailer on that. But anything that's based upon the 14-15 FAFSA. So if you're a header institution and you're awarding aid for this summer, that's not going to be reflected because that was based upon the 14-15 FAFSA until the next year this time. Okay, lots of need-based programs, and these are ones where all of the FAFSA fields are required. Probably no surprises from seeing these, knowing that all of these programs, FAFSA must be filed. And there are other programs that are need-based. Again, you may or may not have a FAFSA, but there'll be a number of items that you have to report for them with or without the FAFSA. If you have the FAFSA, then we need the FAFSA data. But if not, you give us as much as you can within the constraints of what we lay out for you. And for federal non-need-based loan recipients, there's less information you have to report for them. So if a student is getting non-need-based loan recipient, for example, we don't need to know about other scholarships that they have received. Whereas a needy student, we would need to know about scholarships. So these ones you could report just the loan amounts if it was non-need-based. And this is on page 3 of the manual, but here are some rule changes that are in effect this year, probably nothing too dramatic. But the first is that we are requiring that a first name be provided for each student. This was optional last year, and probably 99.5% provided it anyway. So please be sure to provide it this year. And if you, for some reason, did not have one, you had a student with only one name of Jones, then it would be Jones, first name, Jones, last name. But that would be a rarity. And middle name, if you have it, we'd like it. And or a middle initial. Either one would be great. It just helps us in making sure sometimes that we have the right person if there are any problems with identifying them. Gender is there's a new option this year, which is code 3, which is unknown. However, if the student has filed the FAFSA, we do want you to select either code 1 or 2, which would be male and female. So 3 might be unknown. It might be one of the other programs that they didn't file a FAFSA for some reason. You just didn't have that. You could put unknown. But certainly we'd like to know male or female whenever possible for all programs. And we have a few valid input range changes just to expand the range a bit so that more files get through the edits without having to have somebody write a comment on it. So family income, you'll see the old value was negative 100,000 to 350,000, and the new value is now negative 200,000 to $500,000. So, certainly if you have items that are below or above those figures, you still can report those. You just have to, through the edit process, indicate that this is indeed a correct value. So, in terms of these, whether or not somebody meant to show 200,000 and they added an extra digit and came out 2 million, that will pop up in an edit. Be able to fix that quickly. We were looking at one today from one college, early entry, and I'm sure it was a non-need-based one, but they reported negative $1 million in that particular case.
Negative $1 million.
Oh, negative $1 million. Okay. So we hate those negative figures, but they are what they are, and and that one hasn't. I don't know if it went through the edit yet or not. So maybe it was an error, and they'll fix it. Cost of attendance, we've expanded that up to 200,000. That's not going to impact, again, the majority of schools. There was at least one school last year that had a higher cost school that had, sometimes they were able to report a borrower-based year of 2 years within one FAFSA year, so they were exceeding the $100,000 for a whole lot of their graduate students, and so this will certainly help that school and perhaps a couple others as well. So we're certainly not encouraging high cost of attendance like that, but we're making it easier for schools to get data through there. And so to accommodate for that, we really needed to also increase the expected family contribution and need amount to go up to those amounts too, in case that were to happen, so that all the values could be reported at those high levels. Pell Grant, we've simply updated to the maximum Pell Grant value for the 13-14 year, $56.50, and direct subsidized loans, we've increased the value to allow $17,000 for the school that may be able to do 2 borrow-based years in 1 year and get through without an edit. Opportunity Grant, which is by community technical colleges, we've increased, well, we actually put one in there that was not a value before. And a couple field definition expansions. We have institutional student ID, which allows for up to 50 characters to be reported. In the past, that was completely a voluntary option for anybody to use. This year, to be able to work with a number of state agencies of data exchange for different studies or reports, we've checked with the public baccalaureates and with CTCs, and we need to have this 9-digit number that you have in order to sometimes match up, because some of the other agencies will not have the capability or allow any kind of a matching on a Social Security number, which is our normal matching one. So public baccalaureates will have to, in the first 9 characters, show the Peachy's number. And this, most schools are all numbers. I think Western might have a letter in one of those. So as long as they're all filled out, and if a school had only 8 digits, they'd begin with a leading 0 on those first 9. So after the first 9 characters, the public schools can add additional ones if they want, if they wish to add their own student ID code or what. It's not used for, won't be used for anything else other than your own self-identification. Private institutions may provide data or leave it blank. And I didn't mention, but you'll see here that even though we say they're required for the public institutions, there is the potential that there may be a few students that don't have those numbers, and you could override it, but we really want that information whenever possible. For federal nursing scholarships, we've simply expanded the definition to be a little broader, to be scholarships and grants for other health profession training. So if it was for anything else, for veterinarian or other health sciences, you would put that in there. And the same thing with the loan program, the nursing loan program, nursing health loans. If there were other federal health professions loans, you would put them in this category. Passport to College program, if your institution happens to award an incentive grant to the student that's to be kind of dispersed through your student aid system, maybe to go directly towards tuition and fees, you may add that into here. The question came up last year, and that's the solution that we came up with. Most incentive grants the schools don't get filtered directly to the students, but if you do give them money, so a normal passport scholarship, the maximum amount is $4,500, and so if you somehow gave a student another $500 to help out with maybe special fees or what, you would show $5,000 in that case for that student. And this year in school, it mostly applies to the community technical colleges, but you want to look this over here to make sure that this is being handled appropriately. Code 5 is one note that would apply to everybody, that if somebody is working on a second bachelor's degree and students or a student with a bachelor's getting an associate's degree, we're asking if that be coded 5, which is kind of the universal code for that. One area to find that, if you haven't found it, if you don't carry that in your regular financial aid system, is off the FAFSA. It does ask direct question if a student will have completed a bachelor's degree by, I think it was July 1 of last year. That's the way the community technical college is going through it. They're looking at it that way. And if that is answered that way, then their code in as a 5 if they're working on a second bachelor's degree, for example, or an associate's degree. For these 8 fields are required of all persons that you report, all students you report information on. So these are kind of the universal 8. Social Security number, their state residency, year in school, financial aid per term. This is for each of the terms, and you'll see below we are asking for all 5 terms: summer 1, fall, winter, spring, summer 2, and first name, last name, gender, and enrollment status per term. So both the financial aid per term and enrollment status per term, there's a lot of those that will end up being zeros, which mean no aid received, no enrollment status for those. Well, I shouldn't say that the status per term will be so much zeros, but the financial aid per term will be a lot of zeros on that. Enrollment status per term, though, if there was a school that's a semester school and you don't typically have a winter term, you're going to be showing zeros for winter term for those students. In other schools, if they're simply not enrolled, to be putting zeros for those terms. So you're going to be reporting non-need-based aid received for all need-based recipients. So this simply means, you're kind of doing a data dump of everything you have, that if a student is needy and they get an outside scholarship, you need to report that. If they get an academic scholarship, you need to report that, so forth. Some of them will be need-based aid. This CSV file, there is a sample available on our website, again, if you need one. The mention that financial aid needs to be reported for each of 5 terms, and later Carol Larson will, as she's going through the inputting into the actual system, will kind of show you what that looks like. But summer 1 is used primarily for, at least for leader and header awards, and for a number of private career schools will use that as well. Fall term, winter term, mentioned about semester schools, spring term, and summer 2 used primarily as trailer awards for many schools, and career schools will oftentimes use that as well. When to include summer aid in your reporting, be sure to review Chapter 2 of the manual, and the summer aid should, again, be reported based upon the 2013-14 FAFSA. So in general, header schools, leader schools will report summer 1 aid if awarded, and summer 2 will probably be zeros for all of your students there. For those that might be a trailer school, you would report any aid dispersed in summer 2, and summer 1 likely would be zeros in most cases. If a recipient was enrolled for more than 1 summer term in the same summer, report the total amount received and the enrollment status for the student's full summer enrollment. This is me going back a little ways, quite a ways when I was at the University of Puget Sound, but I was there for quite a while, and we had a whole bunch of summer terms, and so we had to add, summer 1, summer 2, and look at that as the total enrollment for the summertime. And I know many of you have summer programs like that as well. These are all, we'll call them FAFSA-related fields. So if you do have the FAFSA for the student, then all of this information must be completed. Marital status, dependency status, family size, number in college, income, expected contribution, cost of attendance, need duration, need amount. All right, we have some special notes about selected fields. So I guess we're going to check here for a moment.
You are now unmuted.
Up to this point. Anybody have any live questions that you wish to ask at this time? All right. Here
You are now
we'll
muted.
Continue on with the webinar here. There'll be a couple more times that we'll stop for live questions, and we are monitoring the chat room questions too. So don't be bashful if you have a question. So some just special comments on Social Security numbers. Duplicates are not accepted in this file. Simply won't upload it, and there'll be some messages that there's a problem there. And the programs that we, of course, watch most closely because we manage them here from a budget point of view are state need grant, college-bound programs to see that we've got all of the right students matched up. So if you show a Social Security number for a particular student and it doesn't show in the interim final report, that'll show up as a mismatch, and we'll have to work that out later. Sometimes there are Social Security numbers to update or fix. Same thing with the college-bound scholarship. So the cleaner this is initially when it goes through, the better for everybody. But we do have these edit reports that will show discrepancies and allow you to review them to see if some changes need to be made. You're in school. We say don't automatically use the year in school report on the FAFSA. Instead, report the highest year in school for which the student attended when the student's financial aid was dispersed. It's quite a mouthful there, but the intent there, and an example would be, let's say a brand new student coming to your school. When they fill out the form, a year in advance, they may say they're going to be a first-year student or a freshman. And when it comes to the let's say the spring term, a lot of those students will still be a first-year or freshman at the beginning of their spring term because maybe they had no advanced credit or anything. So we would want them reported as a freshman or first-year student. However, if a student came in with running start credit or other credit, they may be a second-year or sophomore student by the final disbursement of the year, and so you would do that at the beginning of that year. But if we had this, if we had you simply report the year in school now, there would be very few first-year students at most schools because they would have advanced their credits. But we want to capture that most of them were freshmen last year. Next slide. Family size. This is one where it generally will be what was reported on the FAFSA. 2 or higher it must be for dependent students, 1 or higher for independent students. Probably similar edits that you would get on the student aid report. Number in college must be 1 or higher. You can't exceed the family size, and parents enrollment in college should not be included unless it was a professional judgment decision. So professional judgment in general anything you made on a professional judgment will be reported as you have made the professional judgment. So family income, since we're doing 13-14, it's mostly the 2012 income from the FAFSA, unless it was professional judgment. Please report only whole dollars without the dollar signs and without cents. So in this case, there's an example of 44,010 or a negative 10,123. And so this is really the only area where negative numbers can be used is in the family income. Reporting the expected family contribution will often be the federal methodology calculation that you've received from the Department of Education. It may be adjusted by professional judgment, and it should reflect the number of months reported in the need duration. Cost of attendance, almost everybody will have a variety of budgets that reflect the student's living expenses, whether or not they're at home with parents or in an apartment or whatever the situation might be. Report the student budget amount that's related to the need, and that should also reflect the need duration, the number of months. So here's we run this little formula independent of your answers to make sure that this was calculated properly. So we're asking you the cost of attendance, we're asking you the EFC, and we're asking you the need amount. And if the math was all done correctly, it will balance exactly like that. But if it was not, then it will show up as an edit there that something is not working properly to come up with this equation here. So that's why we're saying take care that all three items are based upon kind of the same philosophy of, if this was based upon 9 months, all these are based upon 9 months. If they're all based upon 6 months, they're all based upon 6 months so that the symmetry in terms of the calculation works properly. This does not mean, though, that if you started out the year with a student, and let's say you thought the student was going to be there 9 months, everything's working out well for 9 months, the student does not return in the spring quarter, we do not require that you adjust the figures to show that this was only a 6-month budget. We'll know that based upon the number of terms the student enrolled, but so you can leave the budget all at the same level if you wish in that, or you can adjust it if you wish. If your practice is to adjust it at that point to show that there's 6 months for all, just adjust all of them. And in this case, the need amount should be reported as 0 or higher. So in essence, this could be a negative figure, but please show 0. Have your program in, just show it as 0 if it comes out that way for need. And report need duration based on number of months. We've talked about that. Normally that'll be between 1 and 12 months. Next slide. All right, enrollment status. And the shows on the left, kind of the high level of not enrolled, full-time, etc. And on the right, it shows the unit record report codes. These are the same as the interim report codes. So in the seesaw codes. So these are, the consistency is there. The sequence is not really there. The numbers don't really flow the way that maybe you or I would create them if we were doing it today. But we've got history of these numbers and don't want to change them at this time. So if a student is full-time, and this will show credits or clock hours, you'll give them a 1, half-time, a 2, 3/4 time, a 3, and less than half-time of 5. And for career schools, proprietary schools, this is the range. If you're on a clock hour or clock hour institution, these are the approximate ranges where we're looking for you to break out the terms into 5 terms. So roughly summer, July through September, and you'll see the other dates here. They're also in the manual as well. For state need grants, you'll report the final awards received by the student for the the 13-14 year. We do check this one carefully against our records, so that the critical note here is you should all balance out with the interim final report. There could be some exceptions, and you do have a place in the report to be able to show why they may not be the same, and then we would review that and get back to you if there are any questions on that. And there will be a state need grant students not reported section to verify state need grant recipients and awards that are correctly reported. College bound is basically the same thing. except with the college-bound scholarship program that will be watching that to make sure it is as accurate as possible. State Work Study is our third big state program that we also manage here, and we do ask you to report separately for on-campus and off-campus employment programs. You're reporting the total gross earnings, which will include the employer match, and would include summer employment. It was part of the 13-14 process there. Report either the extra gross earnings based upon some kind of monthly cutoff dates or institutional payroll dates. So you have X dollars for fall, maybe Y dollars for winter, Z for spring. A couple schools have chosen to take the last version because their payroll systems don't handle it that nicely, and they might just know how much the student earned during the academic year. So if they said, we know that the student earned $3,000, we're saying, okay, you can decide to spread that out equally if you wish. Because what we're going to be checking with our state work study team here is that the total dollars are the same as the total dollars you have. We're not looking so much at term by term for that program. But we do it. You still have to report it term by term. So, and those three being three of the most critical programs because of our management of them and reporting to the legislature and our own council on that. And we certainly hope and expect that all the rest will be very, very close approximations of all the money that students have received. But on the other hand, this is not an exact audit dollar for dollar. So we're probably 99.5% accurate for all the state funds that are received, or we're maybe closer to 100% accurate for state need grant, college-bound, and work study. So you're all working hard to try to be as 100% accurate as possible, but you know, there's maybe a tiny bit of slippage in some of this. Institutional gift aid this is the second year of our portal. There are just two categories. Any of you that are converting from the secure website, there were, I think, 4 categories, either 4 or 5 categories that you're reporting. Now you simply have to say, was this based upon need, either solely or partially based upon the FAFSA review? So you may have one that you called your need-based grant aid. That would definitely go in there. And then the non-need-based institutional gift aid would be other grants or scholarships, waivers, awarded without regard to the FAFSA. So if you had, say, a music scholarship that the student got, they're a needy student of music and they didn't care, it's not based on the FAFSA, you put that as a non-need-based, or maybe you've got a trustee scholarship or a dean scholarship, those could be in this category. Other state-funded gift assistance. Here are examples, probably the most notable ones, and Ann Bowles has managed most of these here, so she's a resident expert if there's any questions on that. But American Indian Endowment Scholarship goes in here. Gear Up goes in here. Washington Scholars and WAVE. Those last two are have not been newly funded for a few years, but there still will be a number of students for 13-14 and probably 14-15. At this point, there's no hint from the legislature that these will be funded again. We would hope they would be, but so far they're not for new students. They're suspended. All right, we're going to stop here for a moment and check to see if there are any questions.
You are now unmuted.
Or if anybody wants to do a testimonial, sing a song, whatever. We have no singers on the line.
You are now muted.
All right. Everybody wants to get back to work. So our edits are built to ensure data quality. Dave Richard, our Chief architect to the IT department will be covers part of this in a moment, but he's here too to answer any other questions that folks may have. But the edits are softened a bit for students who are only receiving non-need-based federal loans. There's not as many edits to go through for those students. And also, if they're not receiving FAFSA required aid types, there are fewer things that you absolutely have to report for those students. So, Dave, you weren't going to cover this. Why don't you cover this one too? You'd be good at this one.
Alrighty. Well, there are we run your data through about 60 different edits, different data checks, and the first set there are 12 items, 12 edits that we run your data through as you upload your file. And if they fail any of these edits, we'll reject your upload. We won't accept it at all. And things such as header row missing. We absolutely need the header row to know what data is in what column in your file. So we have to have the header row. Duplicate SSNs. We really need one SSN per row, per student, and only one SSN. Any kind of invalid code for what am I thinking? Enrollment, current enrollment, state, yes, absolutely. Any of these kinds of any of the coded values that we've listed in the manual have to be in that format and be provided. Can't report any non-numeric fields and numeric fields. These kinds of checks we'll do on the way in, and you get pretty detailed information if your upload fails for any of these 12 edits. And Kara will show some of this in a little bit as she walks through how the system actually operates.
Let's go to the next slide. I'll go to the next slide, and then you do the next slide. Okay. So this one, Appendix 2, shows non-overridable edits. And one example would be if you reported a bunch of stuff, but you showed absolutely zero financial aid, which we get a couple like that every year. It either means we don't need that record and you should just delete that record if it truly did not have any financial aid, or more likely it probably means that you may have failed to report some financial aid, and then you can fix it at that point to show the financial aid the student received. If they're a non-resident, you're showing us, you're saying no for Washington residency, but they have a state need grant or other state aid. That will be a reject, if you will, a non-overridable edit, which hopefully the thing would be that, yes, they were a state resident, you just made an error. But if it turned out that you saw, as it happened a couple of times last year, that, oh, we made a mistake, this really was a student from California and they got the state need grant, in those cases it becomes a time for us to work with you to cancel out that award, get the funds back, and make sure that everything is done correctly on that. So that's just program integrity. It's obviously important that everybody be a Washington resident. We're available for questions. I mean, some of this can get thorny issues, and if you want to talk them through, pick up the phone and call me when you're at that point. Number in college greater than family size is just one of those ones that would be an error that just has to be fixed because that shouldn't happen, can't happen. Next slide.
Alrighty. Overwritable edits are the vast majority of the edits that we have in the system. Essentially, overwritable edits are reasonableness checks that we apply to your data. We check to see like as the example says, is need amount is 0 with need-based aid. That could happen if the student started out with a full load and they actually had some need, but they dropped a half time somewhere in the middle. Their need has gone down. You may have given them some aid to begin with, but they drop below the threshold later on. There may be other reasons for that. Year in school for aid type with the federal Grad Plus or federal Parent Plus loan, say if they have Parent Plus but they graduated in the mid-year, you would report them as a graduate student. They probably wouldn't qualify at that point for a Parent Plus loan, so that would fall through that kind of edit. And then you can tell us what happened. Date of birth outside of normal range. We've got a pretty wide range. I think it's, I don't know, 15 to 75, something of that sort. But obviously, we do have child prodigies, and we do have, and we're living longer and longer, and people are going back to school later and later. So it's definitely folks out there that are over 75 coming back to school. I hope I can do that at some point. Cost of attendance minus EFC, the formula that Steve mentioned earlier, it's a simple formula, but your computation of what the need is for your student may be more complicated than that simple formula. And we don't know about the parameters that you may need to apply, so we'll just, this is our reasonableness check, and then you can tell us why the actual need amount varies from that amount. As I said, we have about 60 edits, and about 3/4 of them are overridable. So the vast majority then are overridable edits that you might encounter during your process. And the system makes it pretty easy to populate the override and give us that reason that you would override that. And of course, after you've submitted your report, Tara will be diligently reviewing all of those errors, or all of those reasons that you've given us, and may come back and talk to you about what her findings are, and with questions and so forth. But generally, the overridable edit process is pretty simple.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Some of the tips and best practices: upload your CSV file early. Don't wait until the submission deadline. Review all these manual and training materials. They're going to be they are on the website. There is also this training environment if you wish to simply practice. I know at least one of the schools that got their form done in one day have been doing that this summer. They've been in there kind of playing in the sandbox, and by the time they actually submitted the file, then they had really figured out all the edits. So you can do whatever you want in this one. It doesn't count, and it does go away overnight. So if you're looking for more fun to do, go play in Dave's sandbox here. Use the information reports to check for consistency and validity along the way. And certainly contact us with questions or problems that are not addressed in the manual or on this webinar. Again, lastly will be our contact information, and this PowerPoint will be on the web. I think there is a version on the web right now. We will add the one with the voiceover as well, so anybody who hasn't heard this can either just look at the slides themselves, PowerPoint, or they can listen to the whole program. So I'm going to take one more look to see if there anybody unmute this and see if there are any
You are now unmuted.
questions or comments before we move into the web application. Hearing none, going on.
You are now muted.
Hi everyone, this will be just a quick overview of how to upload your CSV file and how to deal with processing the edits if you have any edits to make. You can refer to Chapter 3 of the manual for more detail if you have questions after the presentation is over. So to log into the portal, the address is there at the top of the slide, and as you can see, the arrows are showing you where you can enter your email address and your password. Once you're in the portal, you go to the program's drop-down menu and select Unit Record. You'll see this welcome screen if you haven't been into the Unit Record yet this year. And from here, you will want to click on Proceed to Upload. You'll want to browse for your CSV file and then click on Upload once you find it, and then it'll show you your progress as it's processing the file. It usually doesn't take very long to process. If there are any errors in the file upload, the file will not be uploaded as Dave was describing earlier, and it will show you the error messages. Here there's just a single error message, but if you get a lot of error messages, you'll also have the option to upload all of those error messages to a CSV file so you can look at them later. And you'll want to discard the file. It will not be uploaded or saved into the system. You'll need to correct any errors in the file and then re-upload it. Once the file has been successfully uploaded, you will see this screen. It will say File Upload Complete! Exclamation mark, yay! And you'll want to just do a visual check on that table below showing the year in school counts, and you'll be able to see if that's looking like an accurate picture of your students. If not, you may want to go back and start all over again after fixing your file. But if everything looks good, you can click on Proceed to Edit, and this will start the edit process. You can see there's another progress bar. It will show you how long it's going to take you. Every once in a while you can hit the refresh button and it'll give you more edits down below. Next slide. In this window you can filter by edit type, or you can sort on any one of the column headers that you see. In the far right column, the overwritable column, it will show you the reasons or the type of edit it is, if it's an overwritable or a not overwritable edit. The ones that are not overwritable are signified by a red stop sign. And if you have overridden an edit, it will show as overridden in the overwritable column, and it will become green instead of red. Next slide. So you cannot submit the file to us until all non-overwritable edits are fixed, and all overwritable edits are either fixed or overridden. So to overwrite or edit student data, click on the SSN, that's a link, and that will take you to the individual student's record. The individual student's record has two tabs. One is the student demographics and need, which is showing here, and there's also a student aid tab. At the top of the screen where the arrow is, it's showing the overwritable edit. It says student not enrolled. Next slide. So since it's an overwritable edit, you can either edit the data or overwrite it. So the bottom arrow is showing you how to edit the data. Since the error is student not enrolled, you can go to the enrollment status drop down and select their enrollment status. If you want to overwrite it, instead of changing the enrollment status, you click on the overwrite button next to the error message. And then a pop-up window will show up, and you put your overwrite comment there. And once you've done that, you can hover over that little information letter I, and it will show you your override comment. All aid must be reported by term, as Steve was explaining earlier. This is just another version of a previous slide. It's showing you all of the program fields for federal, state, and other. And as you can see at the top of the screen are the 5 different terms, and you'll have to choose an enrollment status for each term. When all of your errors have been fixed or overridden, you will see a link that says Submit this Unit Record Report. You'll want to click on that. And again, it'll give you a chance to review your summary data, and you can see if everything's looking correct. And if it is, you click on the Submit Unit Record button, and that will send an email to us letting us know that you have submitted your unit record. And I will get an email as well, and that will indicate to me that I need to go in and check your data. And like Dave said, if I see anything questionable, I'll probably be giving you a call.
All right. Thank you, Kara, very much. And we're nearly done. Where to go for help? You've got all the resources available on the first link there. And if you at any time want to send us a question, a note, comments about the unit record, this unit record at wsac.wa.gov is perhaps the best one to do. We have Ann that monitors that every day. Our goal is to get back to you within that same day, if possible, or within a day's time of when you get it to us. And if Ann can answer, she will. If she can't, she'll forward on to either Kara, Dave, or me, whoever is the best person to try to respond to your questions on that. Now you have also Kara's email and phone number and my email and phone. So, I do know there are sometimes when a phone call seems easier for you to explain the situation, and so we are available, or we'll get back to you if you call and leave a message. So let's see if there are any other questions or comments.
You are now unmuted.
We have unmuted the line at this time. If you have any questions, we're open for your questions.
So as you're all contemplating how soon you're going to get your reports done, we're thinking of having some prizes for by sector of different hopefully submit them. I don't know what the prize would be. We know that Hawaii is ruled out.
You are now muted.
But maybe it'd be some small bit of swag. So in any case, we do look forward to working with you. We look forward to a great unit record season and being able to assess all 69 institutions. We have one new institution on the line right now, Western Governors University. They will be adding their data for the first time to our system, and we appreciate that. So hearing no more comments, we're ready to get off the line, and we'll be watching for your emails and phone calls. And good luck to you all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.